if you're one of the millions of people who plan on visiting the Grand Canyon in the not-too-distant future, I'm sure you're aware of the breathtaking beauty that awaits you. But you might not know that there are a number of historic and opulent old railroad hotels nearby that are stunningly beautiful as well. Let's take a look.
Williams, Arizona is home to the historic Grand Canyon Railway. Established as a mining railroad more than 100 years ago, it soon evolved into a passenger train line and was reborn as a tourist railroad in the late 1980s. Once again, its mission is to carry visitors back and forth to the nearby Grand Canyon. For many years, visitors to Williams would stay in the old Fray Marcos Hotel, which now houses railway offices. When it opened in 1908, it was also called a Harvey House Hotel, one of the first of what would be many.
Well, the Fray Marcos Hotel was one of the original Harvey houses that were built in conjunction with the Santa Fe Railroad and the Fred Harvey Company. Santa Fe built them, Fred Harvey managed them. And it was a very good relationship that lasted for a long period of time. The same situation existed here at the Fray Marcos and Williams as did at the Grand Canyon. All those hotels and facilities that were built at the South Rim were built by the railroad. All the facilities here in Williams dealing with the hotel and its support structure was built by the railroad. And Fred Harvey managed these hotels. Originally, when the railroads were running along the vast expanses of the West, they had to set up at regularly spaced intervals places where the trains could stop and the passengers could eat. They did not have onboard train service in the early days, so they had eating houses spaced regularly along the railroad. And the trains would stop, the passengers would deboard, they would go into the restaurant, feed, and in very short order they would be whistled back to the train and jump on board and go on to their destination. But a lot of them were, like the Fray Marcos here, is at a junction. Or at a destination, say like the El Tovar and the Bright Angel, they are at the Grand Canyon. But many of them were at junction points of the railway where the trains would come in, the people would deboard, get off and get on another train that would take them to their destination. So these were overnight stops when they became hotels.
The old Fray Marcos stands with the grace and dignity of an elder statesman, adjacent to a beautiful new Fray Marcos Hotel, also owned by the railroad. Visitors get 21st century amenities here. On board the trains of the Grand Canyon Railway, you take a 60-mile trip through the ponderosa pines of a national forest en route to Grand Canyon National Park. 277 miles long and up to 10 miles wide, the Grand Canyon is breathtaking. And on the edge of the southern rim, another hotel built by the railroad and run by Fred Harvey, an incredibly beautiful El Tovar.
Well, the hotel was commissioned by the Santa Fe Railroad in 1902, and construction actually began in late 1902 and was completed and opened in January the 14th, 1905. With the coming of the railroad here in September of 1901, folks were clamoring to visit, and we needed a nice place for nice folks, and the Santa Fe Railroad decided to have Charles Woodley, who was a noted architect at the time, design a hotel and build it up here. The odd thing being that the hotel was designed before anybody knew exactly where we were going to put it. Consequently, it's situated, one might say precariously, at the head of Garden Creek here. It looks Norwegian or Swedish or just European in general. It's beautiful, that's for sure. The logs that were used to face the hotel and the major ones on the inside all came from Oregon. And the Kaibab limestone, of course, is local. When the hotel was completed, remember this is 1905, it boasted telephones in every room. Some rooms even had bathrooms, not all of them, and it had what they then called electroliers, which was all the rage. It was probably the most luxurious hotel outside of, again, San Francisco in the West at the time.
Not far from the Grand Canyon, in Winslow, Arizona, you'll see another reminder of how important the railroad and railroad hotels were to the turn-of-the-century growth and development of the Southwest. La Posada Hotel, described as Arizona's grandest estate, looks as elegant now as she did when she opened in 1930. It would be the last of the great Harvey hotels, and it too has undergone a renovation, restoration, and rejuvenation.
First and foremost, Mary Coulter designed it. It was her largest project and the one that was closest to her heart. And Mary Coulter was a woman architect, you know, in the 1930s working for the railroad. This is unheard of. And she was essentially so good at what she did that by the time she was building this hotel, she had free reign. She was in her 60s when she was building this hotel. Coulter was ahead of her time in a number of ways, whereas most architects or engineers out here really didn't even think of the Southwest as having a culture. Coulter pretty much imbued every one of her buildings with the culture of the area. This building has a fictional history behind it. It's meant to be a grand hacienda for a wealthy Spanish family, a cattle baron. And that history is played out throughout the entire hotel. Even though the building was built in 1 year in 1930, it's designed to look like it evolved over 200 years.
La Posada was another part of Fred Harvey's small empire, an empire which lasted until the 1950s. He was a man whose only mission was to provide rail travelers with the best hotels, best restaurants, and best waitresses they would find anywhere a train whistle blew. Waitresses, not waiters. They were called the Harvey Girls.
They were on time, they didn't drink, and they were hard workers. And so that was the beginning, the birth of the Harvey Girls. And then it went on to where they went back to Kansas City, Missouri, and put ads in the paper. Wanted young women, 18 to 30 years old, of good character, no experience necessary, room and board provided. Their pay was $17.50 a month, and the tips were liberal. And that was the birth of the Harvey Girls.
Attractive and intelligent.
And intelligent.
Attractive and intelligent.
They taught me how to serve and what to serve and what not to do and what to do. And I learned many things from that.
Arizona is filled with natural beauty and man-made beauty. Reminders are everywhere that even when your primary mission is to explore the wonders of nature, it has long been the mission of the railroads to help you do it with comfort and style.